So I decided to make my presentation on whole interval recording. The definition is, according to Cooper, Heron, and Howard, whole interval recording is a time sampling method for measuring behavior in which the observation period is divided into a series of brief time intervals, so typically from 5 to 15 seconds. Rationale. According to Cooper, Heron, and Howard, 2007, interval IOA is an index of agreement between observers for data obtained by interval recording or time sampling measurement calculated for a given session. It has measurements of periods by comparing the two observers' recordings of the occurrence of the non-occurrence of the behavior and each observation interval and dividing the number of intervals by agreement by the total number of intervals and multiplying by 100. Good points on whole interval recording. A good thing to measure with whole interval recording would be on-task behavior. You want to see that there's an attention span and that something's happening in the entire time. The individual should be able to stay on task. You should see on the task behavior that throughout in the entire interval. So with whole interval, it's either the person was on task for the entire 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, and if not, they would be marked as a no for those 5 minutes. Overall, whole interval time sampling, you observe the student for a few seconds at a designated interval and notice whether the behavior occurs for the whole interval that you are looking for. So it's either marking yes or no to whether this behavior occurred for the whole time that you were watching. Advantage and disadvantage. The advantage of the whole interval recording method is that it provides an estimate of the duration of a behavior and provides information about where behaviors are occurring or not occurring within an observational session. A major disadvantage of whole interval recording is that it requires an observer's undivided attention. Teachers interested in this measurement strategy may need to ask someone else to observe and collect whole interval data for them while they are working with students or engaged in instruction. Observing and recording data can be challenging, especially if using a stopwatch, since the person recording must attend to both the timing intervals as well as the student. When to use this? When the behavior that you are looking at is not easily counted, you can measure the behavior by counting the number of time intervals in which the behavior occurred. A behavior is not easily counted when it is difficult to tell exactly when the behavior begins or when it ends, or it occurs at such a high rate that it is difficult to keep count. If you are interested in measuring ongoing behaviors that you know will continue across intervals, use the whole interval recording method. Here's an example that I did and recorded, which you will see next. The example is being on task, including looking at the teacher while she is talking, or looking at the assignment. I did it as a 2-minute length and each interval at 1 minute to keep it short. You see below the total times of behavior that occurred within 2 minutes. 50% of the time the student me was engaged and the other 50% student me did not listen. So O meaning I stayed on task and X meaning I got off task in that 1 minute interval.
Abe and Babe will grab a grub from Greg. Will Abe and Babe grab a grub from Greg? If Abe and Babe will grab a grub from Greg, where's the grub from Greg Abe and Babe will grab? Allie's alley in the alley. Adele is a dull adult. Aunt Edith's Aunt Eater ate Aunt Edith's ants. 8 apes ate Nape's tape. Never ever offer awful Arthur alfalfa. An anteater ate Andy, alligator's apple. So angry Andy alligator ate an anteater's ants. Ancient anchors, anchor, ancient arcs.
So boring.
Can an active actor always actually act accurately?
This is so boring. Oh
Are
gosh.
Archie and Audrey's archery arrows as arty archery arrows? Ashley's leaping as she's sleeping. Amanda manded Amanda's panda. Okay, let's have it. Avery's Army Armory. Avery's Army's Armory. Avery's Army's Armory.
Such a nice flower.
B. Big boxes of bears being brought abroad. Rubber baby buggy bumpers. Rubber baby buggy bumpers. Rubber baby buggy bumpers. Once upon a barren moor.
So you see here that the first minute I was listening to the story, and in the second one I wasn't listening at all. So you can see the different, the whole interval in that. To conclude, once the recording is complete, the observer counts the number of intervals in which behavior has observed and percentage of intervals with the behavior is documented. So it was 50-50 because the first minute I was listening, the second minute I was not. For instance, a teacher may be interested in whether a student is on task, as my example showed, which was defined as looking at the teacher while she was talking. If these behaviors occurred throughout 1 minute of the 2 intervals, then the student engaged in the behavior of interest during 50%. Overall, at the end of each interval, the observer records whether the target behavior occurred throughout the entire interval. Tends to underestimate the proportion of the observation period that many behaviors actually occurred. And then these are the citations that I was able to use. And I'm so happy you were able to listen. If you have any questions, just ask below. Thank you.